Mhm. Nope.
Hello.
There we go. Coming back.
So I don't have a picture up here. I don't know why.
On the bottom left, it says share video, and you need to click on that so we can see your beautiful face.
Oh. You might not want it.
Oh, I see it now.
Oh, no, we see you now, Carol. Very good. Okay.
Okay, so we got that, we got that, we got that. Got
And
my
then
notes.
Val was trying to get in, and so she should be coming in shortly. And I know somebody from Oak Avenue said they were going to tune in. We'll see.
I have a question for you while we're waiting.
Sure.
I was going to call. It's about 1099s.
Okay.
Okay, we had a pastor that spoke, and his total for the year was 725. So,
Oh, buggers. Yep.
yeah. Do you do the 1099s, or do I do them?
You paid him, you have to do it.
Okay.
So you just call him up and say, did you get a W-9 on him?
Say what?
Did you get a W-9 that gave you?
No, not on him, but I can get one.
Yeah, just print out a W-9 and write the information in, and call him and say, I need your social security number for your 1099, and by phone.
Okay. So yeah, my tax people have 1099s. I'm gonna pick them up tomorrow.
I might have extras when I get done, but I'm doing 3 nonprofits, and they're sharing the cost.
Oh boy.
Of the 1099s, and I have not started yet, so I got to get a boogie on. Boogie. Modesto's usually more challenging because there's stuff that goes on that I don't know. I pay the bill and I don't know what's going on, and so. I
know a lot of that, like, so we have this roofing company that did the roof.
Right.
Do I have to do them a 1099? They're a business.
Are they a corporation or are they a sole proprietor?
I have no idea.
Call them up. Are you a corporation? Then you don't need to do a 1099. If they're a sole proprietor or a partnership, then you do need to do a 1099, and you will need their tax ID number.
Right. Okay.
So
I'll have to check on that.
Yeah.
I haven't even done W-2s yet.
Oh, are you using QuickBooks?
Yeah. Oh, but I don't use the payroll.
Oh, you don't? How do you do your payroll?
I just figure it out and write them a check.
Oh, wow.
There's only 4. Actually,
yeah, but still.
There's only 3.
To do all your tax forms, it's so much easier. But it is like $60 a month, so.
Yeah.
$50 a month.
That's really something that,
Well, and the pastors is easy because it's just a flat rate going across. It's just the employees and all the taxes that you need to tally up. And QuickBooks will print W-2s on plain paper. You don't have to buy the special form.
Oh, well, I just go online. I belong to that something online thing, and you just go online and download them and fill them out and send them to them.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's, I'll tell you what it's called.
So do you electronically transmit your information to Social Security?
No. Well, this is called Social Security Administration, and where's the right page here? You register with them, Social Security Services Online.
Oh.
And you register, and they have to approve you, and then you get a password and another special number. And then it's only for W-2s. You can't do like your quarterlies on it.
Right, right.
But it does help to do the W-2s because I hate typing them and they don't like you to handwrite them.
Yeah, yeah. Your 1099s?
Is there any way to get a 1099 online? So you just have
Not
to,
anymore.
so do you handwrite them or do you type them?
I just bought some, in the past, I have handwritten them, but that's when I was ordering them from the IRS. The IRS doesn't deliver them anymore, so now I have a new set, and I think it will print out with my computer.
Oh,
You
okay.
just print out like 4 copies or something like that.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'd like to get because I make so many mistakes. I'd like to be able to correct
Yeah.
it.
Well, since
Before
I
I put
have
it-
the 3 nonprofits that I do, and I need 1099s for all of them, I just buy a big stack on.
Yeah,
It was like $15, and
Yeah.
for 20. How many did I get? I got 50 sets.
oh, wow.
So I just divide the cost by 50 and then charge each
Each
entity
one.
whatever it costs. So
Well, my tax people that do our personal taxes, she always buys a bunch of them. So she said I could have, she said, how
yeah,
many
you
do you
don't need
need?
that many.
Okay, ladies, it's 7 o'clock. We need to get started.
Thank you.
Okay.
Carol, I'm gonna, let's see. I think we're supposed to not be able to see everybody. Is that right?
Well, we have Michael here. Hi, Michael.
Hello.
I think we would see anybody else that was logged in.
Oh, Lance is logging in.
Okay.
Okay.
Want to give him another minute?
No, we need to just kind of get started.
Okay. We are starting. So welcome everyone to FATS, Financial Administrative Training Seminars, Thursday evening. Thanks for taking out some time and sitting in with us. Tonight is going to be on reimbursements and handling money. And we've got Lori, our conference administrator, Lori Koons, is going to be helping me out. I am Diane Hinkley, part of the finance team and the bookkeeper for the conference. And I am glad to be here and hope that I have a pearl or two that will transfer into making your life much more calmer.
And we're gonna do a little housekeeping. Silence is golden, so I want you to mute your microphones. If you have questions, there is a little cloud that says chat down below, and you can type in your questions, and when we get to that point, I will pose the questions, and Diane or I will try to answer those as best as possible. We do like questions. All resources will be posted on the conference website, and feel free to utilize the chat feature. You can speak to everybody, or you can speak to one person individually. And next slide, please.
Next to me. Okay, here's a ha-ha. 2 things ruin a church: loose living and tight giving. So everybody laughing? I hope so.
We're just going to do a brief little study here on Ecclesiastes 5:10. It's actually just our scripture. Whoever loves money never has enough. Whoever loves wealth is never satisfied with their income. This too is meaningless. In the chapters leading up to this verse, Solomon gives insights on values and encourages the reader to use time wisely, but making right choices. We can only assume that he felt the same about money. Most of us are taught, at least to some degree or another, to budget our finances. Those on finance boards, either church-related, nonprofit, or business-based, know the purpose of budgeting wisely and the consequence of not doing so. The scripture cautions to not love money, as it is never enough and does not satisfy. and I can only suppose it is because money is used for selfish motivation. There's a quote by Ignatius Joseph Firpo: "What we have done for ourselves dies with us. What we have done for others remains and is immortal." We need to pay our obligations, provide shelter for our families and maybe others, provide food for our families, so we must labor, or, if you will, work. In the Focus on the Family series, The Truth Project, Del Tackett makes solid reasons why we should enjoy work. Enjoy versus I have to work, or work is a bummer, or it's the only way to get to Friday attitudes. Even Christians sometimes refer to the fall as support for their view that labor or work is a curse. Del Tackett goes on to say that work is far more than a curse when viewed as a means to firstly care for our families and obligations, but more than that, to find ways in our work or labor to bless others. If all we have and earn in our labor is from God, then giving back or making a way for others to labor should bring us joy. So let's move on and see how we and those who attend our churches can share in the opportunities to help the church take care of their obligations and bless others, and learn how these are managed in best practice.
Can you give us a little prayer?
Oh,
Lori,
yes.
to get us going?
Heavenly Father, we thank you for these opportunities to expand our knowledge and to minister in our individual ways in our churches in the best way possible, that we might glorify you in the best way possible. Just ask you to guide our hearts, guide our minds as we go through today's lesson and discussions. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, take it away, Diane. So the topics that we're going to cover are the offering, gifts, digital giving, reimbursing expenses, travel, and personal expenses. And our question to you is, do you have something that you most want to engage tonight? Something that you really want to hear about? Put that in your little chat box, and we will make sure that we emphasize that that information. And
you'll see I entered a hello, so feel free to add.
And Lori's going to monitor those chats if we have any further questions. We'll have lots of opportunity for conversation. So the offering, there are numerous ways that an effective offering gives Christians an opportunity to really worship. You always want to say thank you. Besides being a courteous thing and Mama taught you right to do, thank you is a biblical principle, and it also makes the person feel like they are giving to a worthy environment that they are connected to. So be very courteous and say thank you. There is a study out there that shows that if you send a thank you note within 6 weeks, this encourages givers to return and makes your repetitive giving much more productive. So that's a good thing. The next thing is you want to personalize an offering. What the offering did to contribute to the kingdom of God. You know, this offering allowed 3 kids to go to camp, and two of them gave their lives to Jesus. So make it personal to the congregation. You know, this offering has helped us repair the leaky roof or the broken furnace, or, you know, brought this musician to you. So make it personal. Reduce pressure to the congregation. You can say something like, if you're here for the first time, your gift to us is gift enough. Don't feel pressured to give today. Don't say, don't give today. Leave that as an open-ended, it's between them and God, and give opportunity. Refer to the offering as receiving, not collecting. Collecting is too much like the tax man knocking at your door, so ask that you can receive the offering. we have our ushers come forward, please receive the offering. Refer to the we did that. Report on projects. If you take a special offering for a project, a missions trip, a camp, scholarships, or whatever, make sure that you report back to the congregation on the success for that. Because it encourages them to make sure that their money is just not going to pay for the lights and pay our salaries. It's going to further the cause of God's kingdom. So you could say, your giving today will go a long way to support our outreach to Nicaragua next month. And then you want to do a show and tell. Show and tell would be have photos or objects that tie to the offering. And then you can have like a picture. This is Tammy. She gave her life to Jesus last week at camp, a camp she couldn't go to without the support of your tithes and gifts. You are having an impact on the world. So if you do a show and tell, again, you want to make it as personal to each individual as you possibly can. And then tie in your vision, whatever your church's vision is, give them a reason to remember that. Every time you give, you are joining we multiply spirit-led believers who lovingly belong and undeniably bless their world. Your giving helped us launch 3 new churches last year. I can hardly wait how your support will help launch new ministry this year. Yep. So obviously that is, thank you, Mark Adams, for that. And, but that is a good way to tie in the vision or your mission statement. And you want to be very clear how the offering takes place. You can say, as we receive the offering today, know that you can also give using the online feature from your text right now. Just use the number at the screen below. Or say, we do receive bill pay checks, or we do have an online button on our site that is secure that you can give through. So there's options. If give them the option, have a little printout. What are the options of giving? So those are some things how to make the offering more personal to the participants and to make it a worship to God and His glory. So, any questions yet? Offering we talked about. Go ahead.
Sorry, Carol was asking about digital giving.
We are going to talk like 2 seconds on today. We've got digital giving at ME3, and digital giving is our primary topic at our next webinar. If you want to talk about it because you're just off to go, give me a call. We can meet up and we'll work on it. So, any other questions?
And somebody else was inquiring about expense reimbursements.
We are going to get onto that in just a little bit. So if I don't answer your questions about expense reimbursements, then catch me up at one of the next question things. But we've got that on the list. Anybody else?
That's all. That's all the questions that have been typed.
Okay, perfect. So, again, the only exercise I've done all month is running out of money, and you will hear that. So that sounds like a stewardship lesson to me. Faith in God and His provisions. So now we're going to talk about who handles the money. You've got the people that give, you've got your counters and your ushers, and you've got your treasurer or your bookkeeper that handle the money. The givers need to know that it's going to be secure, that it's going to be safe, that it's going to be accurately recorded and applied to what you said it was going to be to. In my Modesto church, I can tell you I have 4 people that when I send out that annual giving receipt, they look at it and they know exactly if I have a typo, I hit the wrong category, or I put it in the wrong place. If I put it cash instead of check, and I've got 4 people that hold me accountable, and I love them dearly because then I know what I'm doing. So you're inviting your ushers forward, you collect your offering, and then what happens to the funds? The ushers in Modesto, what happens to the funds is the ushers go back, they count the number of envelopes that was received and write it on a little form. They count the number of checks that weren't put into an envelope and write it on the form. And then they count the amount of loose cash that was in the offering plates. They put this all on the form. They put the form and all the offering in an envelope, and then they go and stow it at the Modesto church. And the reason we do that is because it sits for a few days. I'm not going to tell you where it sits because I don't want you to come in and borrowing money, but it sits for a few days, and a lot of people have access to that area. They come in and out of the office, and so it's secure, but it's not 100% secure. And that way I have accountability right as it's put into the storage place, and I know. Then it goes to the treasurer or the bookkeeper, and you always must have 2 people available while you're counting. Number one, it holds the counters accountable. I can't put cash in my pocket. That's what I tell a new counter, you know, you're here to keep me from putting cash in my pocket. And it also helps pick up mistakes. You might miss a check or something, so it helps keep you accountable. Plus, it reassures the congregation that we're doing safe practices when we're handling their money. So the bookkeeper and the person in the office count it a second time, enter it into the database. Database is critical so that you can keep track of your designated accounts, missions, world missions, benevolence, camp fund, whatever the money is being designated to. You can keep track of your general offering, and you keep track of who gave and how they gave so that you can apply it to their year-end receipts. So the database is important, and you can do spreadsheet, but there's a lot of different ways of different databases out there. So that's handling the money. So when do you, so always 2 people count. Sorry, I didn't realize. There are forms on our right under our forms and resources. The counting sheet that was up there is pretty much general use, and it's available for you to copy and have available. If you want the little one that I use for my ushers on Sunday morning, give me a call or text me or email me, and I'll send you a copy of that. So when do you count? When you count, it's anytime money is given as a group. We have a Christmas fair, so we make arrangements that 2 people get together at the end of that Christmas fair, and they keep the funds. We have 4 different things going on, and we keep the funds separate, but we still count everything and do a tally. And then I go back as the bookkeeper for the deposit, and I double check that. Love offerings at an event, you count that. Anytime money is given as a group, it gets counted. When everybody shows up at camp, Margaret is notorious for keeping records and accurate records of what money has come in for camp and out. And so that way, by the time I get it, you know, I enter it into the computer and everything goes according to plan. So every time. Digital giving, this is the little bit of digital giving we're going to talk about. It's the best because number one, fewer hands touch the money. It doesn't go through the mail. So it's, I have personally been hacked twice by mail that has been stolen with a check in the envelope. And that's my personal accounts. I am getting real paranoid. So the conference accounts, I walk it into the post office. I try to give it as few places to stop as possible. So fewer hands touch the money. It's easier than check writing. You just click a couple of buttons, log on to your bank account. And the nice thing about when you do bill pay, they pay for the stamp, they pay for the envelope, they pay for the check, and they don't charge you a fee usually if you have a certain balance. So it's much easier and much more economical than writing a check yourself. You can give anytime, you know, if you're in your golden years and your sleeping patterns are a little bit different, 2 o'clock in the morning, you want to pay bills? Oh yeah, it's the first of the month, first fruits. I can send my check off to the church. If I'm leaving for vacation, I can send my check off for the church and know that they still have those funds to appropriate where they need it. If I'm on vacation and I forgot to send my check off to church, I can go online and do my little bill pay app and send it off. So it is as easy as 1, 2, 3 with digital giving. More at ME3 and the next FATS. It's easy to send up, easy to set up. and something that every church should come up into the whatever 21st century or 22nd century that we're in. So any questions on handling the cash? The digital giving will go into much more detail. Anything just pop into your mind? Any suggestions or comments that you want to offer on these, the giving?
Somebody's asking, could offerings be counted during the service?
I have that story of Jesus going in temples and turning the table, but you still collect. That's why we do the little short form. It takes 5 minutes. I don't want people leaving the service to go count money, so I have the little form and they fill it out, 5 minutes, sign their names, and then one person locks it up and then it's done. So, you know, that's between you and God. I still see Jesus turning the tables over at the temple from the selling of doves and whatnot for sacrifice. So I have a problem with working during service time. But you make it work for you. Any other questions? Any comments? Okay. So now we're going to talk about receipts.
Oh,
Real
quick. Val was asking about showing the short form, which you probably don't have with you, but we can send it out in an email to her.
Yes, it's really easy. It has the date of the service. It has number of envelopes, number of checks, amount of cash, and 2 signatures. And that's all they do is they count how many envelopes out of the pew, how many blank checks that people didn't use an envelope, how much cash is loose change dropped in there, throw it all into a bag with that piece of paper and stash it in a secure place. But I can send you a copy if you'd like. Just email me and I'll get it for you. Okay, receipts. Receipts can be done a number of ways. You can have envelopes in your pews, which are very helpful, especially for first-time givers. You need to, if you're recording their information, to be able to give them a receipt at the end of the year, or a one-time receipt, depending on how you do it. Envelopes are really convenient. They collect the information, name, address, email, phone number. Digital giving, usually you will get a receipt either from your bank, or you'll get an email from PayPal or anything like that, and that is one way of tracking it. But the entity, the church that's receiving the gift, should send out receipts. Now, most of them you're going to save up and do at the end of the year. But let's say you have a funeral and somebody gives you a $20,000 check at that funeral. You obviously want to send them a thank you letter and a receipt acknowledging that one, because they live in Timbuktu. And so, you know, you probably aren't going to see them in church again unless they're on vacation. And so you want to send that receipt. I would send it out as they gave it and then again at the end of the year, just to receipts total. You are required to give receipts for the total giving at the end of the year by January 31st. So having a database that keeps track of all that is totally indispensable. It just helps you keep all that together and keeps the information accurate. Now, the problem with the database is you're entering the deposit. You get a name, you put in the amount, it goes to general offering, it goes to world missions, they paid a check, and you save it to your list, which creates your deposit slip. The problems with most of those is that they do not enter the information into QuickBooks. So then you have to go to QuickBooks and enter the deposit with the different classifications. So I'm looking for other options as far as software, but so far I haven't found anything that has been really successful. And then covered in a previous FATS, see the website, and I really apologize I didn't go back and look and see what was covered in the previous FATS for receipts, but it must be there. So if you have any questions on giving receipts, I don't even know if the conference has a sample of a receipt, but I can send you one that we use.
I think there is a sample, but I'm not certain.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I should have checked it. So the next little topic is protecting your treasurer and your church. Lots of money goes in through your church and goes out through your church, checks, cash. There's all sorts of opportunities for things to go awry and for temptation. So it is recommended when you get your liability policy that you make sure there is a clause in there that covers theft, covers embezzlement, and employee wrongdoing. So that's a
Whoever hiccuped needs to mute their microphone.
is that their dog? I didn't hear. So
I don't know.
bonding is a whole separate insurance policy, and it is expensive. It's convoluted. You have to get the specific. There's like 2,500 bonding insurance coverages. Of course, we want fidelity bonding, which is handling money, but it's expensive and it's short term and just has a lot of balderrah. All liability policies do have a clause that covers for financial handling and employee handling. So make sure you check your insurance policy when it comes up.
Okay, before we go on to questions, I think you would back up one screen. We didn't do handling gifts.
Oh,
Thank you.
I don't think this backs up.
Yeah, it does.
Sorry about that. Or we can just go forward again. That was screen 18. I'm sorry, I double clicked and it went. Oop.
There you go. Whoop.
Oh, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Okay, sorry about that. Handling gifts. Gifts to a specific person. Diane Hinkley is writing a check to Modesto Free Methodist Church as a gift or a help to Juan Baez. That is not deductible on my income tax as a charitable contribution. Now, if I wrote a check to Modesto Free Methodist Church and designated it to the benevolence fund, then there would be a committee, the benevolence committee would get together, they would make a decision. We really want to help Juan out. This is how much money we have in our fund. Let's give it to him, let's write him a check. Then it is a tax, if you write it to benevolence committee, then it is a tax deduction on your personal income taxes. You count it the same way as you would an offering, but most keep a separate line in their QuickBooks to set that number in so that they know what they have to work for. It is handled just like a designated fund. It only goes to benevolence. It can't sneak off in offering and general fund. It's treated as a flow through. So basically, and that's the same as a designated. It is going to that specific cause. There are various ways of handling the reimbursements. Benevolence is not 1099. It needs to be documented. It needs to be set up as a need. You know, and there was a number of examples on how far you should go to set up that need, but it is, benevolence is not a 1099 entity that you have to give the individual you gave the money to. Over $600 is 1099, but benevolence does not fall into that category. Any questions on that? Nope. Okay, now where did I
Okay,
leave
wait a
off?
minute. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. Valerie asked if someone gives towards a specific account, i.e. a gift towards paying for a general bill like PG&E.
Well, that would go into, technically that would go into the general fund. that runs the church, and then you would just know that you have a little bit extra to apply to your utilities.
But it would have to be used for what they specified it for, right?
Right, PG&E. But you're going to track it through your general fund, or, I mean, you can have, so to have it deductible, you're still making it out to the church, and the church is using it for their everyday purposes. So you just need to track it and write that check extra to the utilities. Unless you have somebody that's doing this, you know, if you have like 10 people doing it every month, you might want to set up a separate line and call it utility fund. That would work. Does that help? But yeah, if it's going to a specific cause, it's still deductible.
Okay, Val is asking, is it reportable income to the conference at year end?
No, because the conference report income. Churches don't report income. I don't know what the school does. I'm sure the school has to report, but a church does not report their income.
She said churches report income for tithe.
I'll have to look at that, but I don't think so. I never have. And everything I've read, we're exempt.
Yeah, not as taxes, but you do report it to the Free Methodist Church.
That's what I'm referring to. I'm referring to reporting it to the Free Methodist Church. So let's say someone is giving designated. Does it go in your total general income tithe, or if it's going to, you know, like it's a designated fund, which that's a removable amount.
Yeah. The statistics report, sorry. Yes.
Sorry.
If you put on the statistics report, it's general income, it's designated income, and so it would be deducted off your report.
Is that a funny way to do it then? Because it is income and it's paying a regular bill.
Does it happen a lot for you?
No, we just had one weird situation where we were going to cut a service and then a person said they would pay for it. And so because we couldn't afford it in the budget, and so that person is giving the exact amount of that bill so that we can continue to get it.
Yeah, I would still consider that designated and not a pass-through. It is a pass-through, not a general tithe. So it would be separate. It'd be separate off.
Okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure we weren't doing something weird where we should be reporting it because it was a donation. You know what I mean? It was a tithe, but it was designated. Okay, got it. Thank you.
If it was designated, it doesn't matter if it's designated to replace toilets or, you know, add an extra light in the sanctuary because they can't see well enough. It's still designated. So that would go under capital improvement though, because it's part of the building. So it would be designated under your capital improvement.
Gotcha. Helpful. Thank you so much.
Okay. What were we on questions?
I think we're done with the questions. Wait. Carol just typed one. So if money is given for the benevolence fund, we report it as a pass-through. Doesn't that have to be approved?
No, but you should have a benevolence committee that decides where that money goes. And usually somebody calls in and says, did you know Mary Jane's car broke down and it's going to cost her, you know, $500 to fix, and she's got 12 kids and really needs that car to get them to school and her to get to work. Can the church give her $500? And then you make a little documentation that, you know, Sally Mae called in for Mary Jane, requested $500 to fix her car and to get her and her 12 kids to school and to work. So that would be benevolence. It's a pass-through, it's designated. And I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question?
Does it have to be approved?
It should be approved by your committee, your benevolence committee, yes. Now if you only have benevolence committee, we have a benevolence committee of 5 and a majority has to rule, but sometimes there's only me and the pastor that's available to say yay or nay. And so, you know, you have to set up your policy benevolence committee, what your procedures and policies are to make that decision. So technically, yes, it has to be approved, but you know, someday it might be only you there and you know everybody's going to say okay. So okay.
Okay.
All right, reimbursement strategies. So who can be reimbursed for expenditures by a church? Anyone who bought something for the church for which reimbursement is needed. Now, when it says anyone, obviously you want to have some policies and procedures and clarifications in there so that, you know, I went out and bought exercise equipment for my exercise class, but I didn't get anybody in the church to approve it, or I didn't ask for it. I'm obviously going to be a little excessive in thinking that I'm going to get reimbursed for it unless I got it approved. So, and this needs to be caveated by approved, approved by the church. Professional expenses for employees and volunteers. So if you have, and best practices is predetermined reimbursables. So let's say you have a volunteer that comes into the church once a week and she calls all the people that were out sick that day. And she brings her cell phone in to make that phone call. You can give her a portion of her cell phone bill, give her a reimbursement for a portion of her cell phone bill. Maybe she goes and picks up groceries for somebody that's had surgery. You can reimburse her gas. You can reimburse her for the groceries. You know, so there's all sorts of things that you can think about that can fall into that category. What the churches want to do is have committees, like we have CE, we have our Wednesday night supper, our hospitality committee, we have our benevolence committee. So you kind of want to direct it to that committee to control some of the giving. You don't want it to just go out willy-nilly and for every little thing. Travel expenses for employees and volunteers, only for ministry-related purposes. But when I drive to the church and pick up the deposit, that's where my mileage starts. And then when I go to the bank and deposit it and get the slip and go back to the church to file the deposit slip from the bank with my deposit slip. So my round trip to the bank is reimbursable, or on a personal level as a volunteer, it's tax deductible on my taxes if I file for deductions. So reimbursement is a big part of church bookkeeping. Did I miss anything? All right. 3 main reasons for proper reimbursements. Proper reimbursements improve morale and treat people right. I mean, if you're going out of your way and you're doing a children's program and you find out you need crayons to really make this lesson come alive, you need crayons and construction paper, and you go out and buy it, the church should help reimburse that. It counts for expenses properly. If people don't turn in reimbursements, the church is never going to know what the cost of doing that ministry is. And therefore, once you leave and quit buying stuff for the church, and they have to start buying it, somebody says, well, where are the crayons and the construction paper? You're going to go, oh, well, that wasn't in our budget, so we don't have any money for that, so too bad. So it just gives you a realistic idea of what your church is costing to run, and it avoids unnecessary tax consequences. If you don't reimburse with receipts, you just say, okay, here's $20, go take care of benevolence. That is technically income to that individual. And in the long run, if it's over $600, you need to account for that. But if you say, here's $20, go to the store and buy as much as you can, bring me a receipt, bring me the change, and that is that's an expense to the church. So, or the person says, I have $40, and you say, okay, fine, spend up to $40, and she goes, buys, and she spends $29. Then she brings back the receipt, you reimburse her for the $29, and there you go. So it just helps keep you in line with Uncle Sam and all the consequences that they can have. So never pay expenses as part of a budgeted salary. You have an employee that went out and bought 1099 forms. They were $45. And you say, okay, Diane, I'm going to reimburse you on payday. And so I pick up my check, and all of a sudden I'm looking at my check. There's an extra $45 on there. Well, Uncle Sam is going to take taxes off of that. So any reimbursements should be a separate check so that it's not taxable. It's not on your, you don't have to report it on your 941s. You don't have to report it on your W-2s. It is just an expense of doing business as the church. So let me make sure I find out I'm with my notes. So anyway, never make it part of your paycheck. I know it's easier, but it's not a good thing. Pastors and church staff can no longer deduct professional expenses from their own taxes. That's a big hit in my book because I run a office here at home, and I'm always buying supplies for the conference or for Modesto or for my other nonprofit. And I'm going, oh, it was only $10, throw it in my tax receipt, and I'll add it up at the end of the year and write it off as a professional business expense. And that is no longer eligible. So turning in receipts is good. The way I'm going to get around that is it's a donation, a non-cash donation to the church. And I'm going to write it off in my charitable contributions. Whether that gets me a better write-off, I don't know, but that's the way it goes sometimes. So, oh, sorry, it changed. Okay, accountable. So how do you reimburse? You can, the cleanest is the accountable reimbursement plan. You identify budgeted amounts for expenses separate from compensations. And this is big for pastors. Pastors and probably the administrator of the church, because they need to go have a banner filled, they need to go buy supplies, maybe they have to go for a run for cleaning or the children's program or whatever, so they need a little bit more flexibility in their spending. Our office staff has a $300 limit, and she has a limit that she can make decisions of what she needs to buy up to $300 a month, and then she turns in all the receipts to account for that. If she has to go over that, then she has to go through the finance committee. So you identify the budget, and that's mostly for pastors because they want to have their professional expenses. They know pretty much what it costs them each year, what they want to put out. Up to $2,000 can be used for continuing education. So anybody that went to General Conference and is a pastor, $2,000 is what is the limit from the IRS on continuing education. And again, we are issuing checks separate your payroll. So you need to write those checks at a separate time. You can write them the same. You can write them the same day you do payroll and put them in the same envelope and deliver them in the same envelope. But you can't write it all as one check. So that's the scoop on that one. Come on, change. All right. Unused expense. So we allotted $2,000 for continuing education. Pastor Luke only used $1,500. The unused expense is not budgeted or given to him as cash. Then it is considered salary. And you have to record it on all the falderah that it needs to be. So if he didn't spend his $2,000, thanks a lot, you saved the church some money. It's not budgeted as a cash salary. Documentation of expenses is required. You need to write the date. It has to have the date, what the ministry was. If you're at a meeting, if you're having coffee and you're mentoring someone, you need to have that person's name, and then the purpose of the meeting. You were mentoring Mary Jane on how to handle children or teens. So you need to have receipts, and you need to have documentation on those receipts. Boards can change the expense budget anytime. Let's say, well, our board goes down to Guadalajara to work with our church plant down there. So every other year, we change our expense accounts so that it is higher in travel for the people that we're going to be reimbursing. And that's usually some of the head people on the 2 pastors that go on the trip, and maybe the missions committee person. So the board can adjust it. It would be a good idea for them to notate it in their minutes, just to have their I's dotted and their T's crossed, but it can be changed. And then expense payment should not be combined with a paycheck. Superintendent Mark wrote these slides for us. So he's written this 3 times. And in the Bible, when you hear it 3 times, pay attention. So there must have been something that happened that it got added into a paycheck, and must have, it's a big consequence for the individual if it gets added to a salary, because it's expensive and it's a taxable item then, and that's just no fun. So don't write it in a paycheck. Okay, another ha-ha moment. Why was the dead man not living well? Because he was dead broke. But cute little dog. Reimbursing travel. Travel is probably, mileage and travel is probably your biggest reimbursable or tax deductible as a volunteer. So you reimbursing as mileage is better. It's less paperwork, and the better. What the worst is, you can reimburse the miles you actually drove. You can reimburse your gas, the maintenance on your car, the depreciation on your car, all the wear and tear on your car, new tires, blah, 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 oil changes, blah, blah, blah. But you have to document every single one of those, and you have to have a receipt for every single one of them. Oh, and your DMV. So, you know, the other is keeping track of every single little thing that you do with your car and writing it off. Whereas the IRS gives you 57.5 cents mileage. So what you do is you get a tricky little app. It turns on every time you get in your car. It says you went from here to there. You open it up and you put it in business expense or charitable contribution is where I file mine. And you wrote, went to the bank for MFMC, went to the post office for SBC FMC, went and signed checks, or went and had coffee with Lori to clear up blah, 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 you know. So mileage is huge. If you think about how many times you went and bought paper clips or whatever, it's huge. So you have to have, so the other from mileage, so the IRS is 57.5, you only have to keep track of your mileage, you only have to keep track of what it was for. The actual receipted expenses is the other, the not better of mileage, and that's where you keep everything that happens to your car, all the maintenance, and document them in envelopes or folders or whatever. A per diem expense isn't done a lot, but churches can say, we'll set you the youth pastor will set you a per diem of $50 a month, and you can use that for mileage and coffee or whatever. You still have to turn in receipts, but it's the per diem, like my office administrative assistant, I gave her $300. You don't have to come to me up to $300. That's her per diem, but she still has to turn in receipts. Receipts are huge. If you get audited and you don't have receipts to justify those things, it becomes income to the individual that it got paid to. So that's just the warning on that one. Any questions on all of that coverage? There was a lot. Reimbursable,
Okay, we've got a question here. Do you suggest a dollar limit where a purchase is approved before it is made?
I do, because office supplies have been nickel and diming me left and right, as far as my time and energy. I mean, to the point where I'm getting phone calls. Can I spend $30 on buying CDs for our kid choirs? Can I spend $20 for the envelopes that they go into? I need paper. Can I spend blah, blah, blah? So, and then you just watch the person and you monitor it. And if it gets out of hand, then, and that's just her department. That's this, you know, all the other departments in our church, hospitality, CE, youth, women's ministry, they all do their own spending. And then they go, oh yeah, by the way, you know, trustees, oh yeah, by the way, we've got a $10,000 roof coming in. So yeah, you do a little scrambling there. But on the smaller groups, yes, that is, otherwise they're going to be driving you nuts. And if it gets used properly, it gets used properly. Just, you've got to watch it. And if it doesn't get used properly, cut them off.
Okay, Val has a question. How to manage church credit cards?
Don't give them one. That's my personal preference. Don't give them one, because the problem is you still need the receipts, and you need the receipts in a timely manner. You need hopefully you need the statement and the receipts and what they used it for. Was it benevolence? Was it CE? Was it the Meg board? Was it, you know, for pastor's retreat? Was it for camp? Was it for the bishop? Blah, blah, blah. So it is.
He's talking about me.
No. I do 3 nonprofits, and all 3 nonprofits have credit cards out there, and I have the same problem with all 3. I am chasing them for receipts. And okay, I take it back. Superintendent Mark is phenomenal with his credit card.
He's fabulous.
He is phenomenal. If everybody could be like him, then I could say everybody could have a credit card. You have to monitor it. It has gotten to the point where I have told 2 individuals, if you don't turn your receipts in by the 10th of the month, because I pay the bill and I reconcile, I have to enter it and reconcile it, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't turn it in by the 10th of the month consistently, if you miss 2 months, we're taking your credit card away, and you're going back on our reimbursement plan. That's just the way it goes, because they just won't turn them in. And I can't portray the books accurately if I don't have them. Does that help? No.
There are no other questions at this time.
Okay, let's move to the next.
I think we're
We're almost at the end. Okay, the next FATS Administrative Thursday seminar is March 26th. It is all digital giving, and I will have everything I can possibly figure out between now and then. I'm in the process of redoing Modesto's digital giving. I'm in the process of setting up the nonprofit performing arts group on digital giving. So I will have a busy month. ME3, we will have a highlight of an outline to this of what you need for digital giving, but we won't have the specific nuts and bolts. Okay? Any questions about that? And then the last, oh, sorry, it got switched when we had to go back, and it doesn't want to advance now. Okay, ME3 in San Jose, February 1. We are going to be talking about digital giving. We're going to be talking about, what's Immaculate doing?
Hiring staff and navigating crises.
And then Lori's going to do navigating crisis, and I'm going to do digital giving. So
right.
We will have those 3 opportunities. We'll be around all day. So if you have any other questions that come up between now and then, you know, you can always email me, Lori, or Superintendent Mark, any questions regarding these webinars, and we will get back to you. Mm-hmm. And thank you, Lori. Thank you, Val. You didn't ask any hard questions this time. She stopped me a couple times. So let's see, what do we got going? And the last thing is, have a plan, make a policy, put it in practice, and be consistent, and you will have smooth cruising through your bookkeeping, church, accounting, reimbursing, and giving life. So any more questions?
Any last questions? If not, we'll be saying good night. Thank you for joining us. And as Diane said, please feel free to email us our names at undeniableblessing.org. And God bless you all and have a good night.
Good night.
All I have to do is remember how to close the meeting.
You go up to your little thing, and on more, it says leave meeting.
There it is.